5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back into the Interverse Uncharted channel here on YouTube. You can also find us on TikTok at Interverse Uncharted. You can find us on Instagram at Interverse_Uncharted13. Just go ahead and check out all of those when you get a second, but that is surprisingly not even why we are here. It has been 6 months since I've had to do a breaking news style episode for something like this, but we are going to do it today. We're going to talk about Starship just for a few minutes. This is not going to be a very long one, as most of my breaking news videos aren't, but there is progress being made at Starbase in Boca Chica, Texas, and that is exciting. So last week before and into last week, they had been destacking Starship and installing the FTS system. The FTS system is the flight termination system, used essentially when all hope is lost, when that thing is in the air. It could possibly be a danger to other things around it, and it's time to just pull the trigger. They'll trigger the flight termination system, the FTS system, and it'll essentially, the FTS system sits in between the liquid oxygen and nitrogen tanks, and when it's a small dynamite charge, essentially, it'll blow a hole, and when oxygen and nitrogen combine, kablamo goes Starship as well as the booster. They used the FTS system in the integrated flight test numero uno earlier this year. Once the ship started doing its little figure eights in the air, they triggered the flight termination system and blew it to smithereens. And since then, SpaceX has been in a world of flux. Between the damage that happened to the pad, with the concrete being destroyed, with the physical orbital launch mount being damaged, the tank farm having its damage, it took a while for them to start to get things going, but they got all the stuff fixed for the most part, and in September, they got a laundry list from the FAA of about 60 items that needed to be fixed before they would be allowed to fly again, before they would be granted their license to fly. And the good news is, it sounds like we're just about there. It sounds like the thing that's left on that list is Fish and Wildlife has been out at Boca Chica trying to survey the area. From what I understand, they have concerns about the water deluge system, which was installed after the integrated flight test. The water deluge system essentially will operate as kind of a flame diverter, where when the right before launch, it's going to flood the area with water, and hopefully that'll lessen the impact of the thrust to the concrete and the orbital launch mount. There's also a water-cooled plate underneath. They're doing a lot of these steps in order to try to preserve stage 0 as much as humanly possible, so that when this flight is done, they can kind of reload, retool, make some changes to the next ship and booster if they have to, and then get licensing, and they can continue to just kind of churn them out now. They have ships for days in the ship garden. They got boosters hanging out. There is plenty on the horizon for what they can do after integrated flight test 2, and that is why we are here right now. We're here to talk integrated flight test number 2. So again, the FTS system has been being installed. That's kind of the last functional step, the last maintenance-based thing that generally happens before we go to the integrated flight test. Again, FTS, in case something goes wrong, they have to arm the charges, so they'll destack the vehicle, they'll bring the ship to the ground, they'll work on installing the FTS system, and they will restack the system. Now, they installed the system and they brought it down, installed the system, put it back up, and just recently they brought it back down. I've heard that that's just for some minor finishing touches, some possibly for the heat tiles and all this kind of stuff, just doing little touches here and there to make sure that that ship is going to be as tip-top ready to go as possible. I would assume that at the end of this piece of the maintenance, they're going to pull the pin on the FTS system to activate it, making those charges essentially live and ready to go whenever that is needed. They will restack the vehicle, and we will sit and wait. just about a few weeks ago, I think probably literally 3 weeks ago, something like that, they did the wet dress rehearsal, which we saw kind of a rough scale version of before the integrated flight test 1. One of the days that they said they were going to launch the ship, they ended up just fueling the vehicle. Essentially what happens for a wet dress rehearsal, if you will, is they set an arbitrary launch time. So we're going to... T0 is noon, whatever. And then they start fueling the vehicle in a time space as if they're going to launch the vehicle. Okay, so at a specific time, they will start cooling down the systems, propellant load on both ship and booster, and then they'll go all the way to what T0 would be. And in this specific case, they did kind of a pre-burner deluge test where they just did all the bells and whistles on the outside, but they never really ignited the system. They did the Fire X and they did the water deluge, but they didn't light the candle. And then at that point, they detanked the vehicle. Now, the test is not over until the detanking is completely done, because in a live situation, that is obviously an active part of the test, where when there is nitrogen and oxygen in the same space, they can kablamo in the element situation that they're in. So the test doesn't complete until all the fuel has been re-established into the tanks, and they successfully did the wet dress rehearsal a few weeks ago. Since then, again, just some minor maintenance. The FTS system, putting on some of the more of the heat-resistant tiles, replacing things that have fallen off, such and such, etc., etc. And now, SpaceX, a few days ago, said that they thought that November 15th would be their tentative launch date. As of 2 days ago, that has been updated. A official tweet from SpaceX says Starship preparing to launch as early as November 17th, pending final regulatory approval. So they're waiting for that FAA license, and they're waiting for Fish and Wildlife to complete their survey down at Boca Chica, Texas. And then hopefully next Friday, the launch window opens. So I will put up the picture of the road closures. The road closures are November 17th, 18th, 19th, all from 12 a.m., so midnight essentially, to 2 p.m. So 14-hour windows, 3 days in a row, back to back to back, meaning that if it scrubs on Friday, they have another opportunity on Saturday. If it scrubs on Saturday, they have another opportunity on Sunday. After that, obviously, they have to make adjustments if they get past those windows, do more road closures, and get more clearance, get air clear, get marine cleared, all that stuff. And then there is an absolute chance that sometime in the next week to 2 weeks, we get integrated flight test 2. In earlier Starship videos, I said that I would be happy if we got this launched by Christmas. It looks like Christmas might come a little early in the form of Thanksgiving, because I think we're going to get this launch just before Turkey Day. So that's going to be something that we should all be thankful for. Keep an eye on my Introverse Uncharted social media, meaning TikTok at Introverse_Uncharted, and Instagram at Introverse_Uncharted13, Facebook and Introverse Uncharted. All these places I will be posting kind of some updates here and there as I see things come out of SpaceX's Twitter. Or you guys should also run over and follow NASA Spaceflight on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all those. They do live launch coverage at almost all times. They do Space Coast Live, they do Starbase Live, they do Countdown to Liftoff, all this stuff. They're a really amazing channel if you're interested in watching space flight in any capacity or in learning about space flight. Sawyer and a lot of the guys over there are absolutely incredible. Alex, Jack does a lot of really cool camera work for them, all sorts of cool stuff. Sorry I can't name off all of them. Trying to think of everybody at one time is kind of a deal at some point. But seriously, you guys should absolutely go check out NASA Spaceflight, especially as we get closer to launch day. That's where I will be watching my live coverage of Integrated Flight Test 2. And that brings me to the next thing. There is an absolute possibility that I will attempt to go live here on YouTube at Introverse Uncharted to cover the launch of Starship for IFT 2. It is, again, a huge window. It is a 14-hour window. So I will probably not be live for 14 full hours, but as we start to get to tanking and stuff like that, I will probably be live right here, and my second monitor will have NASA space flight's coverage of the launch. Thank you guys so very much for tuning into this special edition breaking news on Introverse Uncharted regarding Starship and the Integrated Flight Test 2. Keep watching the channel and all other forms of Introverse Uncharted social media for updates as we find out more things about IFT 2. Please remember to do more than simply exist. And come with me to the Integrated Flight Test 2 of Starship. Have a good one, guys.